In nature, a healthy system reduces suffering. In our economy, suffering often increases growth. Today, I want to ask a simple question. What kind of system is that? Hi, and welcome back. Today, I want to look at our economic system in a way we rarely dare to. Not as economists describe it, but as an external observer. Imagine a person who cannot survive without constant injections. Every few hours, another shot. Adrenaline, stimulants, painkillers, anything to keep the body going a little longer. They need continuous monitoring, continuous intervention. And if you stop even for a moment, they collapse. Now, would we call such a person healthy? Would we predict a long and stable life for them? Probably not. And yet this is exactly how our economic system behaves. It lives only when constantly stimulated. Interest cuts, injections of liquidity, stimulus packages, bailouts. Press one button, twist another knob. Adjust the machine again and again. A system that collapses when you stop supporting it is not a stable system. It is a patient on life support. And what makes this even more troubling is that these interventions are no longer exceptions. They are the baseline. A system that needs permanent emergency measures is not being stabilised. It is being kept alive. Economists may call this normal macroeconomic management. But if an intelligent species observed us from space, they would simply say, your system cannot breathe on its own. Our entire economic architecture is built on one assumption: it must grow or it fails. And yes, growth is natural when you're a child, but if you are an adult and you continue growing uncontrollably, that's not a sign of health, that's called cancer. A tumour grows because it cannot stop. It consumes more and more, faster and faster, ignoring all boundaries, until the host dies. The problem is not growth itself. The problem is growth without maturity, without limits, without a sense of when enough is enough. Our economic model behaves in the same way. Endless consumption, endless extraction, endless expansion. It cannot slow down without panic. It cannot stabilise without crisis. It is not designed for maturity, only acceleration. Some economists will say, growth can be green, growth can be sustainable. Perhaps, but so far global resource use and emissions continue rising with GDP. So in practice, our version of growth still behaves like a tumour, not a balanced ecosystem. Even if some parts of the economy become more efficient and digital, they still depend on energy, materials, food, and a stable planet. Services do not float in space. They rest on physical foundations that are not endless. Now let's look at what our system is built on. Money today is largely created as debt. It appears when banks type numbers into existence, numbers that represent promises about the future. These promises grow much faster than the actual physical world they depend on. Global debt is now more than 235% of world GDP. A mountain of obligations, pointing into a future that looks increasingly unstable. Debt assumes tomorrow will be richer than today. But what happens when tomorrow inherits depleted soils, unstable climate, and exhausted societies? At some point, this math collides with reality. Economists will say, debt isn't bad, debt fuels development. And yes, debt can be useful. But the deeper point remains, we treat abstract digits as if they are more real than water, air, soil, and climate. Central banks can manipulate interest rates, but they cannot print a fish. They can expand the money supply, but not create a new forest. They can rescue a bank, but not a dying river. Money is useful, yes, but mistaking money for wealth is like mistaking a menu for a meal. Here's where the system becomes strangely paradoxical. GDP, our sacred measure of success, counts financial activity, not actual well-being. So when a city burns, GDP drops at first and then rises again during reconstruction. People become poorer, but the system looks healthier. You can destroy homes, cut down a forest, pollute a river, flood a city. And as long as someone spends money to fix the damage, GDP says, excellent, growth. No serious economist believes disasters are good, of course. But we built a metric where destruction and repair look nearly identical to progress and creation. From an alien perspective, this would look absurd. Your species measures prosperity by counting the work required to undo the harm it has caused. And yet here we are. And then there is the health system. Or perhaps we should call it the sickness system. Lifestyle diseases rise year after year. Ultra-processed foods flood the market. Cheap, addictive, aggressively marketed. Chronic conditions multiply: diabetes, heart disease, anxiety, depression, autoimmune disorders. And every step of this chain generates economic activity. First, we produce food that slowly damages the body. Then we treat the symptoms. Then we prescribe lifelong medication. Then we manage side effects. Then we repeat, month after month, year after year. At every stage, money moves. Jobs are created. Profits are reported. GDP grows. None of this requires evil intentions. No secret meetings. No mafia discussions in dark rooms. Systems do not need bad people. They only need misaligned incentives. A system designed to reward transactions will always prefer ongoing treatment over lasting health. A cured patient is a financial dead end for Big Pharma. A chronic patient is a revenue stream. And today the incentives are unmistakable. A genuinely healthy population generates less profit than one that is tired, stressed, medicated, and dependent. Your illness feeds pharmaceutical markets. Your dependence on sugar, alcohol, nicotine, and ultra-processed food feeds entire industries. Your anxiety feeds therapy specialists. Your exhaustion feeds convenience. Again, this is not a conspiracy. It is something far more ordinary and far more dangerous. It is the quiet logic of a machine that measures success in transactions, not in human well-being. And while all of this unfolds on a planetary scale, it shows up in the smallest human details. Families working 60 hours a week, yet always falling behind. Because the cost of living grows faster than their lives. Children who breathe polluted air on their way to school while stock markets celebrate another record high. People exhausted, anxious, drowning in debt. Living in an economy that insists it is healthy because the numbers on a screen are rising. If this is prosperity, why does it feel so heavy? Perhaps because prosperity was meant to reduce anxiety, not monetize it. To create security, not permanent pressure. So here we are, living in a paradox, a system that grows when people rebuild after loss. A system that grows when forests are cut down. A system that grows when pollution increases. A system that grows when people are sick, anxious, exhausted or lonely. And yet we call this welfare. At some point we have to ask, does growth still bring us closer to a good life? Or has it become a substitute for one? We do not need a bigger economy. We need a better life, clean water, healthy food, fresh air, stable climate, meaningful work, time, community, and the absence of fear. No GDP model captures this. No quarterly report measures it. And yet we feel it in our bones. Maybe the challenge ahead is not how to keep the economy growing, but how to let the economy finally grow up. Nature grows, stabilises, and regenerates. A mature forest doesn't need to get bigger to be healthy. It simply needs to remain alive. Maybe the question is not whether the economy will change, but whether we will have the wisdom to change before collapse forces us. From far enough away, this is not an economic story at all. It is a story about a species that learned how to count before it learned how to care. Because in the end, if a system must destroy the future to survive the present, then perhaps the system is the one that needs replacing, not the planet.